Congratulations, you're under contract to sell your house. What now? I've got all this and more for you coming right up. Hi everybody, Stacy Husser here, your favorite realtor in all of Southern Oklahoma. And today we're going to be talking about what it means to go under contract when you're selling a house. What's the checklist that you're going to be going through from the time that you go under contract until the time that you actually go to the close table. So the very first thing is you're going to go under contract. So you received an offer from the buyer. Super congratulations. You've decided to go ahead and accept that offer and you have signed it and given it back to that buyer's agent. You are now under contract. Congratulations. So what happens now? The buyer's agent is going to turn over the signed contract to the title company that was listed in the contract. That's going to trigger the title company to ask your listing agent or you, if you're selling the house on your own, to provide a work order to bring the abstract up to date. Oklahoma is an abstracting state. This is very exclusive to us because we are only one of 2 states in the entire United States of America that still has abstracts. So we have to bring that abstract up to date. That is required by an abstracting office located in the county that your house is actually located in. So the abstract, bringing it up to date, will take anywhere from 14 to 17 days if you're having to have an abstract built. So let's kind of unpack that just a little bit. Some people don't have the abstract. It's actually kept at the abstracting office, which is perfectly fine. I've definitely encountered my share of people though that do have the abstract in the house. But if you can't find it and the title company doesn't have it, that means that an abstract unfortunately has to be built, and that's going to be a little bit expensive. So if you're just bringing an abstract up to date, costs for that are $600 plus minus. If you're having to have an abstract built, you're looking at more like $1,000 plus or minus. So the abstract is simply a document that's just showing the history of the land from kind of back to Indian Territory days. So yeah, that's a thing here. Most title companies will allow you to go ahead and just pay at close, but this will be part of the fees that you're going to be going through when you're selling a house here in Oklahoma. So next up will be inspections and appraisal. They're not really going to go hand in hand, but you're not sure which one's going to show up first. So I'm going to kind of talk about one and then talk about the other. If the buyer is going to have an inspection done on the house, now bear in mind, even if you're selling the house as is, you're still open to having the house inspected. It's actually a requirement in the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission's contract that you, the seller, are going to allow the buyer or somebody that they have deemed responsible to come in and actually inspect the home. If you're selling it as is, it just means that you're not going to expect the next step, which is the treatment, repair, and replace list. So if you're selling it as is, you're still open to having the house inspected. Just be aware of that. And it is your responsibility as the seller to make sure that the house is available for them to do these inspections. And they can inspect just about anything on the house. The contract has a list, but it is not limited to that list. So the inspection period itself is going to be typically 10 days. Some people will actually ask for a little bit of a shorter time or a longer time, just depending. But once you're through that inspection period, you're going to move on to the treatment, repair, and replace list. The buyer is going to compile a list for you, the seller, to review and consider. I always say it's something for you to consider because you're not required to accept it. Accept it as is. You can say, I'm going to do these repairs, but not these repairs. You can say, I'm not going to do any repairs, but just be aware that whatever you're negotiating, you're a little bit of at an opportunity here for the deal to kind of fall apart. You don't want to lose out on thousands of dollars for a repair list that may only cost you a few hundred. So even if they are just irritating you in some fashion, just try to keep your emotions out of it. That's really my best piece of advice. This is truly a business transaction. Yes, it's your home. Yes, you're selling it, but just try to keep an open mind through all of this and work through it as best you can. It is a period of open negotiation, and it does last for 7 days. So if you guys aren't able to reach an agreement during that 7-day period, then the buyer can actually terminate the contract and walk away with their earnest money intact. So, yeah, I know it's a point of stress. It's a little bit of a difficult time. The other piece of this is going to be the appraisals. So the appraisal is going to be done if there's a loan involved that the buyer is needing to get in order to purchase the house. Obviously, if they're a cash buyer, there isn't an appraisal that will need to be done. But the appraisal should be scheduled sometime during that first week that you go under contract. So what happens once the appraisal's back? You can hopefully get an appraisal back that is at the contracted price. Yay, big time yay. Or you can have an appraisal come in below value. You may even have an appraisal come in above value, but that doesn't mean that you get to ask for more money now. So you already have a contract in place. You've already agreed to sell it at that specific price. So even if the appraisal comes in higher, it just means that the buyer is going to have extra equity in buying the house. It doesn't mean that you get to increase that purchase price. So if it comes in below value, there are options, but unfortunately you're going to probably be tied to just decreasing the price on the home. I'm very sorry. Hopefully your realtor did their homework and they opted to list the house for a price that they feel confident that the home will appraise for. This is where your realtor really matters here, because you don't want to have a realtor just list your house at any price because you feel like that's what it's going to go for. You need to have a realtor that's going to work with you and advise you appropriately on what they really feel that home is worth at that point in time. So be sure you partner with somebody that's really going to have those hard conversations with you and not just list the house for whatever you feel is appropriate at that point in time or something that you want to get out of the house. You really need to bear in mind those numbers and make sure that you're not over asking on the price. If you are, just be prepared that it may not appraise, and if it doesn't, you need to make sure that you manage those expectations with by lowering that price that you're gonna take for it. It's kind of a hard conversation. And the reason why I talk about bringing the price of the home down is because an appraisal kind of sticks with the home. So the only way that you're going to get out of that appraisal is if you have another buyer come in that is going to use a completely different type of loan. Some of them will follow the house though for a specific length of time. So just bear that in mind. And these are all conversations that your listing agent should be having with you up front before you ever even get a contract on the house. So your options though, if the appraisal comes in low, like I said, is to bring that price down to match the appraised price. You can renegotiate with the buyer to maybe split the difference. Maybe you need a certain dollar amount in order to sell the home, and you're now going to ask the buyer to bring some money to the table to help bring that value up to meet that appraised price. The other option is to just walk away and decide, unfortunately, not to sell the house at that point in time. If that's the case, then the buyer still keeps their earnest money and you're just kind of out for the time. Some things to keep in mind there. Sorry, I kind of feel like I went off on a tangent. So where are we in the whole process? Your abstract's being brought up to date. There's inspections that have been done. We've gotten through the appraisal process. The last hurdle that you're going to have to go through is to just make sure that you have clear title on the house. So once the abstract is done, it's going to go over to a title attorney's office for them to do a review on it and make sure that there are no problems and that there is clear title on the house. They're going to issue a title opinion on it that will go back to the title company. The title company will issue what's called a title commitment, which is their commitment to actually issue title insurance. So those are your big hurdles that you're going to be getting through. So what are some of the costs that you're going to expect on this? So you're gonna have to bring that abstract up to date. Like I said, that's gonna be a minimum of right around $600, up higher if you're having to rebuild the whole abstract. The inspections that are being done on the house, those are strictly a buyer's expense, not your problem. The appraisal, again, is a buyer's expense, not your problem. The title company, however, is going to do a little bit of a background check to make sure that there's no liens on the house. And that's called I don't even know where they come up with this name, but it's called a Uniform Commercial Code Certificate. I think I said that right. Uniform Commercial Code Search Certificate. Total mouthful, just to make sure that there are no liens on the property. So they're going to be going to the courthouse and verifying that there's nothing that's been actually filed against the house that would need to be covered at your settlement. So before you get the money, everybody else gets the money. The expectation for you, the seller, is to keep your utilities on through this entire sales process. You should not be cutting off any utilities until the buyer has done their final walkthrough on the house, which typically is the day that the house is actually being sold, the day that you have scheduled to go to the title company to sign off on the purchase of the house. So it is your responsibility to keep those utilities all on so that they can confirm that everything about the house is still in proper working order. Their expectation as a buyer should just simply be that the house is still in the same condition as it was when they contracted to purchase the house in the very beginning. So keep those utilities on. You're going to be waiting for some magic words from the buyer's agent, lender, if there is one, of clear to close. Once you have clear to close from the buyer's lender, then title company is finally going to be doing their final processes to issue what's called a settlement statement and booking that close. So on the final day, you're going to you're going to move out, obviously. Hopefully you've moved out some before then. You don't want to be moving out as the buyer's trying to purchase the house. It's just, that's horrible. I'm not going to say it hasn't happened. Make accommodations to move so that when they do their final walkthrough, you are out of the house. So my suggestion is to be moved out hopefully the day before, get the house cleaned up so that the buyers can be coming in and doing that final walkthrough. You're going to have all of your utilities scheduled to shut off on the day of close. Maybe you're going to be a super kind soul and give them one extra day to make sure that they have time to get all the utilities turned back on and flipped into their name. And then you are going to finally go to the close table. What you need to bring to the close table is a government issued ID and possibly your spouse if they're on the deed. But yeah, so that's, and bring your keys. Bring your keys to the close table. You might want to bring a bottle of champagne. I don't know. I'm just saying it's time to celebrate because you're going to be getting a check. But before you get your check, like I said, we've talked about that little bit of a settlement statement and all of the things that would come out. So I'm just going to briefly go through what all you can expect to come out of the proceeds of the sale of the house. You're responsible to pay for the prorated taxes for that year up to the time that you have vacated the home or have sold the home. I shouldn't say vacated. For the time that you sold the home. You'll see that as an item, a line item on the settlement statement. Other things that are going to come out is going to be, I'm going to give it the short term, which is called that gap check, but a Uniform Commercial Code Search Certificate. It's usually about $75, and it's just simply the check for those liens like I talked about. Other things that you're going to have on there will be just miscellaneous title fees. You're going to have that abstracting fee. You're going to have doc stamps that would need to be paid for from the proceeds, and any commissions that you're paying to the realtor that were agreed upon ahead of time. And then last but not least, if the contract had any concessions that you agreed, maybe you're covering some of the buyer's closing costs. Those are all things that you're going to see itemized on that final settlement statement to get you that final dollar amount, cha-ching, that you get to pocket or I don't know, put in the bank, whatever it is that you're going to be doing that. Please don't go to Vegas though. I'm just saying. I don't know. Anyways, live your best life. That's it. That is your under contract. What next when you are selling a home? So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found this of value. If you did like this, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see this happy, smiling little face every single week, then please be sure to hit that subscribe button. I love talking about Southern Oklahoma, things to do here, real estating, obviously, different homes that are listed in our area for sale, all that good stuff. But that's all I got for you today. Until the next time, bye.